I've been in therapy for the last 30 years of my life. My therapist says that it's helpful and cathartic to share your life experiences with others. It helps you process your emotions and recognize them as a real and tangible thing. Truth be told, I don't want to talk about this shit, because that's what it is. Just shit. Constantly weighing me down and leaving a pungent and nasty sense of guilt in my mind. But I'll share my experience with you. I came from a very conservative home. We didn't believe in anything odd. We were churchgoers, and we didn't practice anything outside of what we believed. So I never had Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny in my life. Why does that matter? Because I want you to understand that I never believed in anything extraordinary. My life was very simple and normal. I didn't believe in fairy tales, fantasies, or made-up nonsense. But that didn't matter. I came face to face with it in due time. I got married to my husband in the mid-80s. He was a farm boy who had worked a dairy operation his whole life, and we were set up on a blind date by some friends. That kind of stuff doesn't happen very often these days. I wanted to go to school to be a teacher. I wanted to do something with my life. But that wasn't how it happened. Instead, I became the farmer's wife, and I lived in the country with my husband. The only things for me to do were the chores, cooking, and lots of homemaking. Eventually, I became pregnant with our first child, Jessica. She was born in 1989, and she was my entire world. I adored being her mother. It was wonderful. So, what's so terrible about any of this? Well, nothing of course, but our lives changed soon enough. It started about a week after Jessica's 5th birthday. The first thing we saw were the lights in the windows. We never could quite pin down when exactly it was happening, but intermittently through the night, these large beams of light would penetrate the windows of our house. Bob would go outside and look everywhere to see what in the hell had been causing these lights, but he could never find it. We thought maybe some punk teenagers were running their cars through the fields, but we never found any tire tracks or any indication that anyone or anything had been nearby. Then Jessica's kindergarten teacher contacted us with some concerns. Jessica had been doing well, but she continued to draw pictures that disturbed her classmates and her teacher. I still have copies of the drawings. In almost every one of Jessica's pictures from that year, she had drawn herself next to 2 to 3 skinny and long figures. The drawings were crude and not easy to decipher, but for all intents and purposes, the figures were usually tall, grayish or black-skinned, had red eyes, and were almost always depicted with an arm around or on Jessica. It freaked me the fuck out. She wouldn't stop drawing these damn things. I would ask her over and over again what she was drawing, and I'd get the same reply. "They're helpers, Mommy." Helpers? What in the hell were they helping? Or who? I would try to ask more pointed questions, but I always got limited responses. "They help people, Mommy." Those are helpers. They come to help. I took Jessica to a couple of different child psychologists. I talked to mental health providers. I would just get the same kind of answers. She's creating characters for herself to have as friends. She's expressing her imagination through art. This is normal in childhood development. Okay, sure, but did these drawings have to look so damn creepy? After some time, the drawings did become less frequent. Jessica didn't talk about the helpers quite as often as she used to. although once in a while it would come up. But Bob and I were not prepared for the worst news of our lives. It came shortly after Jessica's 8th birthday. Our little girl had leukemia. Cancer. Fucking cancer in a child. I didn't know what to do or say at the time. I couldn't fathom how God could let something terrible like this happen. I was angry and I was upset. We took Jessica to the best doctors. We made sure she got the best care possible. But she wasn't getting any better. My little girl was getting weaker and sicker as the months went by. We eventually decided to bring Jessica home. We didn't know how much time she had left, and we just wanted to be with her. Then, the incident happened. I woke up in a cold sweat in the middle of the night one evening, and the whole house was lit up in a bright light. There was a very low hum of noise that reverberated through the entire house. I could hear ringing in my ears and I felt disoriented, but my motherly instincts led me to my daughter's bedroom. When I got there, I immediately froze in fear. There were two things, and they were standing over my daughter. I can't explain accurately what I saw to you, because nothing in our world resembles what I saw. Tall, dark in color, glowing red eyes. But I do know that these things gave me the sense that they were intelligent, and I didn't know what they wanted. I had been standing there, immobile and phased out, until I saw my daughter slowly start to hover above her bed. Yes, she was hovering in the air. I freaked out and started screaming at the top of my lungs. The reaction was instantaneous. My daughter began to cry and her emotion noticeably affected the things there in the room. About this time, my husband came running into the room and had seen what was happening. He ran down the hall, and before long he was aiming his 12-gauge shotgun at whatever the hell these things were in the room. I remember the low hum in the room being replaced by the echoing blast of Bob's shotgun. Then, a high-pitched shriek coming from the thing he had shot. A spew of greenish liquid went flying toward the corner of the room and burned a hole into the floor as it landed. This was instantly followed by what I can only describe as the loudest blast of noise that I have ever heard in my life. It hurt my ears so badly that I shut my eyes and fell to the floor in a fetal position, holding my arms over my head. I don't know how long I was in that position, but eventually, the noise was gone and I was able to get up. Bob was on the floor trying to recover himself, and Jessica was in her bed, crying and sobbing uncontrollably. Somehow it had become morning, and the night had mysteriously gone. I can't explain this experience any more than what I just did. To my best recollection, that's what happened. We never talked about it after that day, at least not for a long time. Unfortunately, a month later, we lost our precious Jessica to cancer. Bob and I stayed together for one more year, but it was all too much. We divorced. It wasn't until years later that I realized what happened. We fucked up. Bob and I fucked up. Jessica had always called them helpers. I didn't understand it until I finally began to explore my experience. I started attending UFO conferences, connecting with enthusiasts that followed extraterrestrial activity. I even talked to a few college professors. Whatever had happened years ago wasn't nefarious. They came to help me, to help my daughter. They may have been able to cure her cancer. Their science and technology were most certainly more advanced than ours. I've lived with these feelings for years. I've talked to so many people. I spent several nights during the week thinking about how things could have been different. This is what I do know. My husband and I acted out of fear. My daughter tried to tell me what was going to happen. I never took what she meant to be the truth. Now, I live with the horror of knowing that I helped stop that one thing that may have saved my daughter.